What's good, everybody? The best way to stop trading your time for dollars is to develop multiple streams of revenue that create passive income. Today, that is precisely what we are going to cover. By the end of the show, you should have at least one new revenue stream identified that generates passive income for you while you actively do whatever else you want to do. That's the goal of today's show: how to generate passive income, how to get it going as a freelancer. Let's get it. So it's funny, as I'm taking my walk, I'm thinking about how I remember as a kid, I always wanted to be investing. I always wanted to invest in real estate. And that's funny, as even as like 7, 8 years old, I thought about real estate. And I knew, because I had so many family members who worked in real estate, the time, the effort, the energy, but also the initial investment that was needed. Thankfully, over the years, things have changed. There's some opportunities that are a little easier than others, but at the same time, it still requires a decent amount of investment, depending upon what type of real estate you want to purchase. But just like anything, it's always good to know the reason and understand the reasons why behind certain things, right? So the big thing is why did I want to get into real estate? I wanted to get into real estate because I wanted to find a way to generate revenue that I wasn't necessarily working every single day for that revenue, that I wasn't necessarily working every single moment for that revenue, and make my initial investment work for me. It's like, okay, it's going to take some time to get to it. So what can I do to get to that level? I can at least do what I want to do as an entrepreneur, which was design, which was web design, graphic design, marketing. Those are things I really want to do, and I want to put time, effort, and energy when I want to do those things, even in writing, right? But how can I do that and still somehow make it a passive form of income, or generate passive income from it, right? As I walk through this beautiful neighborhood, I see opportunities all the time. So with that, it came down to, well, what could I do? So I started an agency, started as a freelancer. And then I said, well, you know what? I want to work with the right people. So I want to build out a team, and I get more done as a team. So why not work on supplying other freelancers with work and opportunity, which is what I was doing. I started my own agency, worked with a group of contractors and freelancers, helping them get gigs, helping them in promoting their projects, their work, and some of them even had their own agencies. I said, hey, this is actually turning into one form of passive income, but I'm actively getting the work, I'm actively getting the clients, I'm actively getting the gigs, so it's not fully passive. What could I do to get me to the stage I really want to get to, right? It's going to take some time, but what could I do to get started now? So what I did there, so I was like, what can I do to make my money work more for me? And that's when I got more into retail investing. Now, retail investing is a form of investing where you work with, you've probably heard of these guys. Of course, you've heard of places like Fidelity and TD Ameritrade, but there's other retail investors where you can look at platforms like Stash, which is awesome. Love Stash. Robinhood is another great forward. Acorns is another platform. So what I would do then is invest in companies, purchasing their stocks, not partials, full stocks. Invest in stocks that yielded dividends. Those dividends I would then just reinvest and put back into the company, or put back into any other business or other vehicle that I wanted to generate forms of passive income. Right, so I take one form of passive income, passive revenue, to generate another. The best part about this is how I got started working with the right people to develop digital products, courses, which are fantastic forms of revenue streams, but also can become great passive revenue streams. Notice I keep breaking it up, because you can make it an active, or you can make it residual. You can make it passive. It's up to you. What we'll get into next is how to create those different forms of passive revenue streams, such as courses, blogs, and of course, one of my personal favorites, vlogging. Cool. But before we get there, just want to say, one of the best things you can do is to take one form and turn it into another. So in other words, take one version or one format and invest it into another. So what I would do is I took the money I was generating or the revenue I was generating from stocks and dividends and put that into other platforms. So whether it's making a new website that I could sell a course on, or working with the team to develop digital products and post those and sell those, there's so many ways you can do it. But when we come back, we're going to go into different forms of passive revenue streams, specifically when we talk about blogging and platforms like that. Let's get into it.
What is passive income exactly? So, passive income, according to the IRS, includes regular earnings from a source other than an employer or contractor. Now, I'm following what the Internal Revenue Service says because they the ones we got to pay. So pay your taxes. Keep that in mind. You know what I'm saying? Go by their definitions. So yeah, well, you don't get in trouble. Real talk. All right. So passive income can come from two sources, right? Good examples would be retail property or a business in which one does not actively participate. Keyword. And we'll use that quite often throughout this episode. I've said actively here and there, and I'm going to keep saying it because think of it as, let's say you're getting paid royalties, right, from a book that you wrote. You're not actively writing that book every single time. You are literally getting paid royalties every time that book is sold, but you did that work actively, maybe months, even years ago, right? So if you pick up a book that's not part of public domain, you look at the author's name, they're getting something most likely from that. Or the company potentially, of course, that published it and may have all the rights, they're receiving it. So passive income can come in from, can come in for an entrepreneur, a freelancer, corporation, doesn't matter. Another good example would be stock dividends. And this is the problem what people have with passive income. They think, oh my God, I have to start a corporation, or I have to start, I have to be this big super successful entrepreneur. No, you could just simply have stock in another company that you've purchased and receive dividends. That would be passive income. So passive income can come in so many different ways. And the sad part is a lot of people make it so much harder for themselves. That's usually what holds them back from just taking the small steps in something as simple as purchasing stocks, right? Downloading one of those crazy cool apps that are out there for retail investors and generating that passive income right away. Many people think that passive income is about getting something for nothing. It's a famous quote by well-known financial coach and retired hedge fund manager Todd Tresidder. It isn't a get-rich-quick kind of thing or a get-rich-quick scheme. Passive income can truly be something as basic as stock dividends, right? And that's really what I'm getting across to you guys, is that you don't have to go to something crazy or put a ton of money into something just to get it started to start generating some form of passive income. And in fact, the most basic passive forms of income, retail property, or once again, stock dividends, those actually can yield the most and help you the most as you go along. So a couple other examples. Here's one example. Let's say you work right now, right? Earn some money and then purchase stocks, bonds, real estate. The revenue that you get from that, right? The funds that you're starting to get from those, such as dividends, once again, retail property, maybe you're doing it as an Airbnb, or you just have a basic rental property. Maybe you're renting out the garage or something like that. That can be forms of passive income because you purchased it. It's done. You maybe do some light maintenance on it here and there. But for the most part, you're not putting work into it every single day. You're not putting in 8 hours of work every single day to get the money back. Another form, dividends, like I said before, or the interest, right, from stocks and bonds. That can also be forms of passive income. Now, once again, I brought up real estate. Of course, we all know, like with anything, you still have to, like I said, some basic maintenance here and there. But for the most part, you are not going at it 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day, 12 hours a day, like any other active job, like that you're working. Those would be the typical forms of active. But passive income can come from so many different sources outside of what we think is this, oh my God, I have to create a movie and get paid, millions of dollars in royalties or thousands of dollars in royalties every few years, every few months. It can come in so many different forms. Do not make the goal this mountain that you have to climb. Start off small, build from there. Skills and knowledge are valuable and priceless, right? And the more skills, the more knowledge you have, the more you can actually go out there and you can leverage those to create ways to generate passive income. Now, the great part about it is you don't have to wait until you have all the skills, all the knowledge, become a master of everything, right? Don't do anything foolish like that. But what you can do is you can, as you acquire more skills, as you acquire more knowledge and information and experience, you can create ways to leverage those things to create methods and paths and revenue streams. And those revenue streams can become passive revenue streams. Just like I said earlier, the first portion of it is going to definitely be active, right? And creating those things. So wherever you're creating the content, you're creating the product, you're creating whatever it may be, or it may be actively working. But then what you can do is you can develop different tools to help you, whether it being an online asset, whether it being a product or an actual, like a course or anything like that, to generate those forms of passive income. So one of the coolest ways to generate passive income, of course, and has become quite possibly the most popular way right now, courses, online courses. And it is passive because you take the time, develop the course, you create that course, you put a lot of work in creating that content, creating that, whatever goes into the creation of the actual course. But from there, what you'll do is you will then create that course, upload it to the proper platform, whichever platform you decide you select, and then the course will generate revenue after you've put in all the work. Right? Now, it doesn't mean you completely stop, you never promote it, you don't market it, anything like that. But the activity, the direct activity of creating the course is done. So now what you've done is you have actively put your time in to create a product, and it's going to passively generate additional revenue after the fact, after you developed it. Just like I said, with everything else, it comes down to it is a form of passive income because it's after the work has come, just like the retail property, right? The other form, which is pretty popular, and we'll say it's not going anywhere by any means, anything like that, but it is definitely kind of taking a backseat to courses right now because courses, everything's been blowing up. But this is one of the best vehicles to promote and market your course. So, of course, blogging, right? Now, writing and blogging go hand in hand, but blogging from creating these long, vast articles or, just short micro forms of blogging. You can promote your course through your blogs, but blogs themselves can be forms of generating passive income through, of course, affiliate marketing or creating a product that you directly sell. Your course could be one of those products. And quite possibly that is one of the best ways to keep it where you have you have the most revenue that you keep. Because with affiliate marketing, of course, you're only getting a portion of that sale and you're only generating based on that sale, just like with a course. But that course, you're most likely going to get the most of your revenue out of it, right? It's not the same as if you were, of course, marketing somebody else's product and you're only getting a portion of that. Finally, vlogging. Now, vlogging and blogging kind of go hand in hand, but it's a little different simply because with vlogging, you tend to put a lot more effort into things on a platform such as like YouTube or maybe Ustream or Ustream or something like that. You put it on a platform where, of course, is a little more devoted to the video aspect and video content. I mean, of course, you can use things like social media as well, but we do kind of see vlogging and blogging a little separate, even though I don't think you should ever put it aside the opportunity where you can have a vlog and a blog all in one. If you're posting your videos on YouTube, remember, you don't own YouTube. I tell people this all the time and I focus this all the time. This is why the number one thing I always tell people more than anything else, and we can actually take it here as well, is that you need a domain, right? You need a domain. You need to make your own website. You should have digital real estate. We just talked about real estate being a form of passive income. You need digital real estate and you own that domain. The same thing goes for vlogging. The same thing goes for blogging. If you use a platform like Tumblr, use a platform like Medium or Substack, great, fantastic platforms. I'm on some of those platforms. Fantastic. Can't knock them at all. And whatever you're trying to leverage. But you do not own Medium. You darn sure don't own Tumblr. You definitely don't own Substack or Patreon. None of them. You own your domain, your website, right? So you should always make sure if any content that you have, you're pushing out there. And there's some really cool tools. There's some really cool ways of making it really easy for yourself. In fact, I always say this, and It's always open because it's all about helping you guys and getting you the tools that you want. Same way it was, I've been helped over the years. Want to do the same for anybody watching and listening, of course. So if you guys want to know how to use Medium, because I mentioned Medium and Tumblr, we can go over some of those. But specifically Medium and Tumblr and the blogging tools, and how to make it a lot easier for yourself to kind of make that content and then push out to those other platforms. And that way you can also test and see which platforms work for you. Drop a comment, say, hey, you want a Medium tutorial. If you just put Medium, I'll make it really easy. Put Medium in the comment, right? Just put Medium. And I know that's what we're going to do, Medium tutorials. If you guys want to see that, boom, we'll put those up. So with that, number one, you definitely want to check out the opportunity to make a course. Then, like I said, writing and blogging go hand in hand, because writing, once again, it's good to kind of work that muscle. It's good to start out with blogging and then maybe a book. Book is you can't knock writing a book. Writing a book is quite possibly one of the most fulfilling things. Everybody that I've ever heard or met that wrote a book, even if it's just one, they're like, it's one of the most challenging, but it's also one of the most fulfilling things I've ever done in my life. Everyone has a story to tell. Now, no matter how much people want to buy that story, that's a whole nother thing, if it's a personal aspect. But if you're taking it from your professional expertise, go for it. Don't wait for anybody. You don't have to. There's too many tools out there to make it happen for yourself. So I would say flex that muscle, or really work that muscle, then flex it. Work the muscle, build it up, work on blogging first. Then try vlogging, right? Get a little more comfortable in front of the camera. You can do faceless YouTube channels, of course, and turn your entire article into videos. We've done that for clients. We do that a lot for clients, where we turn articles into videos. It's a great tool. It's a great method if you don't want to show your face, or if because you want to push more of the brand. Perfectly fine. It's more of a commercial feel sometimes, but you can make it really unique, and we've made it really unique for clients. If you ever want to see some of those examples, drop a comment, video to article, or article to video. No, video to article video. Either way, because I've done it both. But definitely drop a comment if you want to see examples of an article being converted to a video, and even a tutorial about that as well, because we've used many different tools to do that. Next up would be, of course, like I said, then if you are comfortable in front of that camera, you have put out have started up the blog, bring all that content to your website. Once again, now you have the opportunity to generate more income from that website because you have content there. So affiliate marketers are more inclined to work with you because you're bringing in more traffic, but also you've clearly etched out what your brand is, right? So now you can then get to the level, okay, really how strong I am with my niche. And if I'm not strong, where do I need to pick up? Where do I need to build up? So I can start generating that traffic. Bring all that content to your website, your video. Make sure your blog is active and regular on the website. And then, of course, if you have a course, if you have a course, right, sell that course from your website. Don't ever completely leverage yourself on one platform. Platform could go away, right? And that kind of gets us away from wanting to generate this passive income, because now we're relying on other platforms strictly for that income. So take that into account. Number one, this is number one. Really work out that muscle. Start writing. Put a blog on your website. Every website should have a blog. There's a link to that article that I wrote some time ago, because it was so important, and the research that we found was amazing how many websites get more traffic just by having a blog, an active blog. It's very simple. Then, like I said, try out a course. Your expertise, your knowledge, bring it to the table. Even if you're selling to just a couple of hundred people, think about it that way. Even if it's just a few hundred people, a few thousand people over some years, that's what passive income is. Like, if you're looking for the get rich quick, this is not about that. This is a way for you to generate revenue while you're sleeping on a regular basis. It's nothing, let me tell you right now, there's nothing better than waking up one morning, not a paycheck, not a contract that just got fulfilled, not a gig that just got completed, and you look up and you're like, oh wow, you got a message from your bank. You're like, oh wow, there's a couple of extra $1,000 in there. Well, what can I do? Pay off bills? Maybe I can take a vacation. Maybe put it into stocks and make it work for you some more. There's different ways of going about that, and that's the beautiful part about passive income, is that you look at it like, wow, this is maybe extra money for me to play with or extra money for me to work with. So course, blog, vlog, bring them to your website and make that platform that you developed for yourself far more profitable. The final area that is an opportunity for passive income to generate for you from a freelancer entrepreneur standpoint is, of course, digital products. Now, digital products has really blown up. I think that's, courses. We've seen the, the membership subscription economy we are model that's out there. And courses have helped that along. But digital products, it's funny how digital products have become far more the norm, and they used to be kind of to be honest, a lot of people didn't care for them as much. But now it's the big thing for everybody, no matter what you do, right? And a digital product can be anything. It could be a template. It could be, a template for creating a logo. It could be a template for creating a project plan for project managers. It can be a, spreadsheet. And I brought this up in a past episode about, how everyone's an artist, everyone's a creative in their own right, everyone's a creator in their own way. And I use a reference of, or I gave you the example of an accountant creating honestly, a digestible, visually appealing, financial statement. I cannot stress enough how many people will just glaze over a financial statement, glaze over a business plan, glaze over those things if they're not visually appealing. And if you can make templates, and I know this sounds like something you think this is how a lot of people miss out on opportunities. If you can make financial statements, calendars, business plans, proposals, project plans, strategy decks, if you can make them not only visually appealing, but also engaging, you literally have set yourself in a really nice position, because those type of digital products are used all the time. I've been in multiple corporations. They're used all the time. People just, hey, I need a good template. And the template I found in Microsoft ain't that great. The template I found on Google Sheets or Google Docs or, aren't that great. That's why tools like Canva are so amazing, where you can get in there, you can make really beautiful, visually appealing proposals and tools like that. I love to use Canva for things like this, because it takes us out of having to, people who are not as well versed with Adobe tools, they can jump in and they can use Canva and platforms like that right away. Miro is another great one. There's fantastic platforms out there where you can make templates for them and start selling those templates. Once again, third-party websites are great, but if you have your own website, okay, we're trying to keep as much, being honest, we're going to be a little greedy right here. We're trying to keep as much of that passive income in our pockets as possible. And let me tell you right now, there's nothing better, once again, than looking up and you see, all the transactions on the back of your website. Maybe you have it, I link it to both bank account and the website. It's the best way, so you can make sure you're tracking everything and seeing fees come out. And waking up and you see that, how you have 10 sales, you have 20 sales, you have 30 sales, weren't even planning on. Like, man, I put that product up there maybe a year ago. I put that product up there maybe a couple months ago. And yeah, sold some right out the gate, but then it kept selling. Fantastic feeling. Can't beat it at all. So courses, blog, vlog, course, third party, if you're gonna use third party marketplace, but digital products in general. So I'll say again, courses, blog, vlog, and then a digital product. That's the trifecta. I mean, kind of the digital product, kind of the icing on the cake. I always say the course, the blog, the vlog, those should be kind of like mandatory, right? And there could be one, once again, knowing your niche. One could be your cornerstone, and the others can kind of be just like supplements and additions, to it. Because of course, this is multiple revenue streams, and you're trying to identify what works best for you. Because let's be real, you might not be the person to give courses and training. People might not like them. Let's just be real, that can happen. And I've experienced this. I've actually taken a course, and it was awesome the way this worked out, because it built a really good relationship. So I did a review for a course, and the person who made the course, they were like, yeah, this is not my strength. This is not what I do. I'm a graphic designer. And I was like, yeah, I could tell, because what you did visually was amazing. It was beautiful course. I really wasn't feeling it. And you know what they did? They didn't stop making courses. They started doing the graphics for other courses, and they got training, right, from people who did voice acting, voiceovers, kind of helped them with those things. And they made a really cool course later on. right? And it builds a really strong relationship with another graphic designer. I'm really proud to say that's how I built out, a good network. So just being honest and giving an honest review. Because I ain't gonna lie, the course was rough and it didn't help at all. It didn't help from what the course's goal was, but it did help to say, man, this is a really good graphic designer. I need to work with her. So that's the kind of thing that can happen, where you get the opportunity to kind of, like I said, work those muscles, see what works for you, define your niche, identify your niche, and then at the same time, you're going to generate revenue. Because I did buy the course, I did share the course, I gave an honest review of the course. She actually got a lot more gigs creating courses for other people. Can't beat that. Can't beat it at all. So, made a better course later on, made better connections later on. It's a win-win. Doesn't always happen out that way, but you have to put yourself out there and you have to give yourself those opportunities. So, when we come back, I'll go over a few types of ownership that you can leverage and turn into passive income, but also show you how one's passive, one's not passive, because some people get these confused. Once again, I gave you some examples of how from an online digital perspective, you can leverage your skills and knowledge and turn them into passive income. But now we're going to some things that you may have literally around the house that you don't know, or you may think of these as passive income, but they're not actually. All right, everybody. So let's get into ownership. Now I bring up the word ownership because this is what truly will identify and give us those opportunities for that passive income, right? So if I created a digital product, I own that digital product, I can generate revenue from it. It's going to become passive revenue because, and then also, of course, income, hopefully. It should always be an income because you've already spent the time and the effort, the energy, the activity of purchasing the materials, making it, and then posting it or selling it. So everything that comes after that, because the work has been done, becomes a form of residual or passive income. Most common, most literally, I should say the most regular form that we can really, use as examples, the one I used earlier, which is dividends. Now, not every company issues dividends, but a stock, right? It is a form of ownership of a company, right? If you're issued stock, you purchase stock, then you do have you have a portion of ownership within a company. Because of that, if the company does issue dividends, hey, we've had a certain level of profit, we're doing very well. This is what we want to do. We want to issue dividends to our stockholders on a deeper level of ownership, or a higher level of ownership. Real estate, automobiles, equipment, devices, things of that nature. Those can also yield forms of passive income and generate those forms of revenue streams. But people often confuse the passive and the non-passive. So just going to go over those right now because these are the areas they've blown up over the years and people to this day still confuse them. And that's the goal here, is to make sure we have an understanding, hey, what is truly passive? What can I use now? What can I gain in the future to generate those things? Because we don't want to jump from gig to gig, client to client, project to project, and that's the only way we generate revenue. I've brought it up multiple episodes in the past, and I'm going to keep bringing it up. Literally, there are more millionaires, right? Still to this day, more millionaires, right? With that W-2 job, not entrepreneurs, not freelancers. There's a reason why, right? Because a freelancer, an entrepreneur, business owner, they have to put money that they're earning right back into a business. When you're working for somebody else, remember, a lot of people in their benefits package, they're getting stock. So they're getting potentially forms of passive revenue and income right off the bat. Okay. So if we're going to leverage our time and not always trade our time for dollars, we got to know what we're doing. Real estate. Now, short-term rental, vacation rentals, like, of course, we all know how that blew up, Airbnb, things like that. Although Airbnb, as I've said about social media, as I said about Uber, Airbnb, nothing completely new, right? These are things that have been around. Timeshares, vacation rentals, these have been around forever. Seriously, forever. I mean, literally, the platform that they started on was the platform that most people went to before Airbnb, which was just Craigslist, right? They actually started from posting rooms on Craigslist. That's all they did. And let me tell you, hundreds of thousands of millions of people did the same thing, right? And they still do it to this day. So this is definitely passive, right? You've purchased the property, you own the property, and now you're doing a short-term rental. You're leasing it out for a short amount of time. It's a vacation rental. Sharing it out for like a week or two where you're not there. Yes, it's a form of passive income. Now, of course, you will have to maintain the place and keep it clean, things of that nature. But still, passive income. Now, you could rent it out as an office, workspace, leasing, storage, things like that. And of course, what a lot of people don't utilize enough, and of course is where a lot of the money comes from on pretty much anything nowadays, is advertising. You can lease out advertising space. And once again, you're not giving up ownership. You bought the building, you own the building or the property, whatever it may be, is yours. You're not putting more time, effort, energy into into having to purchase more or anything like that. You're posting up the advertising is being posted on your property, and they are paying you for the space that they are renting out or they're leasing out. And there you go. What's not passive, though, is if you are like renting out, perfect example would be an event space. I've seen people call this as passive income, and it's not really passive. If they're renting out that event space and they're providing chairs or providing tables, they have to clean the place. In other words, there's money being actively spent, work that's actively being done, but there's active investment going back into this business on a regular basis. And of course, now they're renting it out, right? So they are generating some revenue from it, but that is not necessarily passive because they actively have to keep it clean. They actively have to maintain it. They actively have to support it with staff. They actively have to support it with whatever additional materials may be necessary, maintenance and things of that nature. So that is not truly passive. A great way of looking at that would be is if, let's say you have a partner, or better yet, an investor, right? This is where the term investor really comes in. If someone gave you, hey, I'm going to give you $10,000 or $20,000, let's say they give you $20,000 to help you purchase the place, okay? Now, you said, you know what? Great. And to pay you back, I'm going to pay you back maybe $25,000, right? So they give you 20, you pay them back 25,000. So with every payment, it's a little bit more, right? Than if you're just paying on the principal, you're paying on that additional investment you're giving them. That $5,000 they're receiving, that's that passive income, because of course they're getting their investment back, right? So that's only going to be breaking even. They're not really making anything off of that. That additional $5,000, right, is what they're making. Now flip it around. Let's say you were that investor. Now, like I said, we could take it to something like this, or we could start off something small with stocks. The cool part about it is, and this is what I've seen the most, individuals who have, and this is what typically happens, individuals who've made the most from one form of revenue stream or passive revenue stream, they then put that into another passive form, another passive revenue stream. So they've made their money through stocks and investments that way, right? Through investing in larger corporations, mutual funds, bonds, stocks. And then they take that into maybe private equity, or they've already done everything private equity-wise, and they retire, they get out of that business. But you know what? They still want to help smaller entrepreneurs or smaller business owners. So what they'll do is they'll take those funds and they'll create funds. They'll say, you know what? I have a fund here for $10,000. I'm going to put $10,000 into one business. And of course, they do their due diligence, their work to understand the business, make sure the business is viable and has a good valuation, and the money comes back to them, and maybe it's $50,000, $100,000, never know, depending upon what the terms are. That is what a lot of people do. Like I said, you start small. Don't worry about, oh my God, I don't have $100,000, so I can't invest in a business. No, there's so many forms of investment. It's crazy nowadays. In fact, what I would suggest, hey, always open to it. That's why I keep giving you suggestions. If you do want to see anything about retail investing and how to do that as a freelancer, as an entrepreneur, to help you generate another form of generate passive income, but just to reinvest in your business, put retail investing in the comments, and we'll have a whole episode about that, because I did a webinar about that just a few months ago, earlier this year, and I was going to put it up on YouTube. I want to add a few more pieces of content to it because a lot has changed in the retail investment world, even recently. So since then, I want to add a little bit more to that webinar. I'm going to put it up on YouTube and on the website. But if you guys want to see an episode specifically about that, we could tailor it to, of course, we could tailor it to our Ambition Show audience and make sure get that out there for you. So that's what we normally see. People take it from one to another, and that's usually those type of investors. That's how they become very savvy investors. Automobiles. Now, this is the big one because, of course, Uber, Lyft, all those, Rappi, if you're, in other countries, all that's blown up, right? And a lot of people see that as passive income. Okay, bubble about to burst for a lot of people right now. Uber's not passive income. Gigging is not passive income. Freelancing is not passive income. Right? I have had so many people say, "Oh, I'm generating," and I am not trying to hurt your feelings if you're one of those people, but these are not forms of passive income. In fact, these are far more active, right? Because you only get paid. You only are getting paid when you're actively doing something. Hate to say it, we all know there are people with salary jobs, there are people with hourly pay jobs, and they can be in between work. They could, take a really short lunch break and not have to punch out or something like that. They're still going to get paid, right? You are only getting paid when that work, sometimes when that work is even complete, not even while you're working, right? You can't even punch in, punch out. It's not even that. It's only when that work is done. So if you're Uber, Lyft, taxi driver, so sorry. Not passive income, if that's what you were thinking. Now, if let's say you own the car, and this is something that a friend of mine, actually a former colleague, did, and I thought was absolutely fantastic because he had nothing to do with cars, taxi driving, livery, delivery, nothing like that. But he was like, "Hey, I have a car. I don't even use this thing, so why not just lease it out to somebody, and that way." They can use it for Uber. They can use it for Lyft. They can use it for Grubhub. They can use it for whatever. Then, of course, what do? You incorporate it. Not only with one, he purchased, if I'm not mistaken, he purchased maybe two cars later on. So total overall, he had 3 that was leasing out. Paid off, took care of, because it was just like, hey, why not buy a very good shape used car? As long as it's in good condition. Of course, he could use it for Uber, or they could use it for Uber and Lyft, and then lease it out to the drivers, and that's what he did. Now, that's a great way of using your car or automobile for passive income. You are not directly driving; someone else is driving. So you've made the investment, you purchased the car, but you're leasing it out. It's almost the exact same thing as if you're doing commercial real estate, right? I've purchased the property. I'm not doing anything in that property, but I'm going to lease it out. Funny thing about this is we've seen this a lot when it comes to construction, laborers, people who work in the business, but maybe they don't work all year round. Okay, there was one company here in Illinois. What they would do is, because, of course, for those who don't know, Chicago especially, but Illinois, Midwest, typically brutal winters. Although, for those who don't believe climate change is happening, I'm telling you right now, it's happening because the winters aren't like they used to be. Okay, climate change is a real thing. And the crazy part is that in those brutal winters, I hate to say it, all those guys, those men and women who would be working in that field, construction and labor, we're talking significant months without substantial work or work at all. One construction company that I found out about years ago, really great way to deal with that. And this is why they always kept a good amount of cash on hand. So when big projects were coming, they were ready. They didn't have to take out as many loans. We'd love to do a full examination of this company someday, because this is just a great case study. Leased out all their equipment. Now, there's some companies that they would ship their equipment. Some companies they would do business in other states. But keep in mind, not passive, because now I got to travel to other states. Now I got to find workers in those other states. Now I have to, worse yet, this is the tough one. The laws, the licenses, the insurance is not the same for every state. So they may have to maintain those things different states, and that's a lot more cost than we're even talking about just the basic stuff. This one construction company, what they would do is they would lease out all their equipment. A completely legit way of doing it. They found different states that they could do it with, what different companies they could work with. Companies that did their exact same, this is the best part, companies that did the exact same work in other states like all year round. So maybe like a Texas, Georgia, Florida, the Carolinas. They could then work with them as a network. They would work with them as a network to get more business. So when maybe a project was coming to Chicago, and those businesses, of course, they don't want to come to Chicago, or they just can't travel there once again because of cost. Hey, we know a company. They have the right equipment, they have the right guys, they have the right insurance, they have the right bonds, they have the right perfect way, a perfect network, and now a form of passive income because, hey, they're not using that equipment. The company that's going to use it, they're going to clean it, they're going to make sure it's inspected, they're taking care of all those costs, and I'm just getting paid for you using this product and this equipment. Now, the only costs that may have incurred would have been, of course, potentially shipping and transportation, potentially, but I'm sure that they found a great way to make sure that did not become a major expense for them. That is a fantastic way, and actually, this is nothing new. Guys have been sharing, whether it be, laborer tools, contractor tools, painting equipment. That's been happening between handymen and construction workers in all kinds of fields for years. So think about what you can leverage. It doesn't necessarily have to just be your like I said, your skills, your knowledge from a intellectual property standpoint, or from a soft skills, if they will, interpersonal skills standpoint, right? Or just your education and academia. It could be something that you literally have as a physical asset that you can lend out, that you can lease out. The same exact way you're doing with this car, the same exact way you're doing with this apartment. I mean, it could be everything from laptops, right? Equipment, devices, mobile phones. It could be all kinds of stuff. I've known a lot of photographers. This is a way that, hey, if they're not getting business, let's just be real. Wedding season's big for a lot of photographers, but there's a season for that, right? Graduations, there's a season for that. So if they're focused on those particular areas, and it's not that type of year, it's not that time of year, it's not the season, they'll lease it out and potentially rent out that equipment to photographers who are doing other type of work, that are getting more work this way. And hey, this is once again about passive income, right? Maybe you don't want to work. This is all about passive income. Maybe you just say, you know what, I want to take some time off, but I have all this equipment here that I don't even want to use, or that I'm not using right now, right? Or I have equipment that, I have the 4 or 5, and I've definitely with a lot of photographers, 4 or 5 of the same units, 4 or 5 of the same tripod, 4 or 5 of the same. I can lease out 1 or 2 of them, make some income from it, right? And then buy new ones from what I generate, or maybe buy better equipment from what I generate. So you have to look at it like that. Ownership. What do you own that you can leverage? What do you own that you can then extend to others? I've said this before. It goes right to this. You don't become a billionaire if you don't make millionaires. You got to make millionaires, right? You don't become a millionaire unless you're giving people jobs and making jobs for other people. It literally does work that way, right? If you look at every billionaire, there's millionaires behind them. You look at every millionaire, they've created jobs, they've created companies, they create businesses. I'm not saying that how they are as people. I'm talking about specifically what they do professionally. The way to look at it from a passive income standpoint is the exact same thing. True ownership, if you're trying to be to where your assets are working for you, well, are you helping other people? Are you creating products, services, devices, assets that can help other people generate funds? Because if it can, what are they going to do? They're going to pay you for it, right? If I create templates, if I create a platform, then that helps other graphic designers, that helps other web developers, that helps other marketers, that helps other salespeople, that helps other educators, professionals. Yes, I basically just said Canva. If I create something like that, then what? Then people are willing to invest in it. You have agencies that sign up. You have content creators that sign up. And not talking about the free accounts. I'm talking about the premium accounts, because Canva's doing very, very well for themselves because they found that opportunity in that niche. And they found those people that they can help out. But once again, they're making jobs for people. They're making jobs easier, for others. They're making opportunities, and they own that platform. So what do you own? What do you create? What do you do that can help others do the same? That can help them create, that can help them own, that can help them do and generate revenue. And then, of course, that becomes a valuable asset. When we come back, we'll go over the book of the episode. Welcome back, everybody. So let's get it to our book of the episode and what to read. Now, what to read, always cover a book that not only have I read at least once or twice, but for sure something that has helped me specifically in that topic that we covered in the episode. And this book came along way later, after I started investing, after I started, developing methods of passive income on my own, whether it be through the agency or, saving towards real estate investment in the future. But it's great to go back and read something or review something or get a further training. You always want to keep building, right? You always want to keep advancing your knowledge and just exercising that muscle, right? Your brain, just like any other muscle, you got to exercise it. You got to really train it and build it out to where you're not just staying stagnant in the information that you know, because information changes, and it's always good to see different and hear different perspectives. The Guide to Passive Income: How Affluent Investors Build Generational Wealth. Just that type of book, just that type of piece of information found later on. And he went back into kind of, just different forms of assets to leverage for yourself, but they don't have to be these crazy, I have to invest in Microsoft or have to invest in Oracle when they first, come about. I have to hurry up and find that initial, IPO, that initial business that no one else knows about. No, it's simply just identifying opportunities to really, best way to put this, kind of stretch your money, right? Make it work for you. And work for you specifically, like everything else we talked about, specifically while you are not working. Now, the author, he actually said, he said he retired when he was in his 30s. He wanted to at least retire from the rat race of, working day in, day out. And I tell you right now, if that's your goal, that's great. If you're listening to this and you're in your early 20s, mid 20s, and you want to do that, that's great. Give yourself a legitimate, and when I say legitimate, I mean like something that's truly tangible that you can reach, something that you can truly reach within a short amount of time, right? Don't give it 20 years, 30 years. Smart goals, right? Give yourself something within a decent amount of time. Let's say maybe 1 year, 2 years max. Reach that goal and then make a new goal. So I want to save $5,000. I want to save $10,000. I want to invest in stocks and bonds, and I want to generate, maybe $5,000, $10,000 out of this over, a certain amount of time, something like that. The fantastic part about this book is it does give you not only those different assets or different ways to have to purchase and identify income generating assets, but it goes a little deeper, which some books don't. It goes a little deeper in how they really can yield the outcome you're looking for. Like I said, he went by that, he retired when he was in his 30s. If that's your goal, that's great. I wouldn't say make that a goal for yourself. And if retirement is the goal, that's great. But find the asset that works for you. This book has a ton of them in there, which is awesome. Identify the assets that you feel, hey, this is the one I could go for. This is reasonable. This is within my means of grasp within a year, within 2 years max. Definitely, if you have the access to one, can't stress this enough, work with a real licensed financial advisor. Work with a real financial planner. Someone who's certified, someone who's licensed, someone who's backed. In other words, this is the way I'll always put it. If two things can't happen to a person based on their profession, this is why you don't invest in a professional, okay? They lose their license. In other words, they lose their credibility and they lose their right to do their job. And they could potentially be found not only negligent, but liable, but even criminally, they could be found liable, okay? And that's important. If you're going to work with somebody for finances, with your finances, work with somebody who's licensed, certified, they're registered, they have to follow the law. They have to follow the regulations. If you identify an asset that you can attain, then work with a financial advisor, work with a financial planner, work with somebody who can help you. Okay, this is your goal. Let's get you on that path. Simply because a lot of us are coming from areas where we don't have that knowledge and that education, and we just jump into something. Luckily, I knew enough people to where I could pull some advice when I got into stock investing and retail investing that it helped me out quite a bit. But then that's why I worked with a platform like Stash, because they had really cool They have a really cool platform where it comes to how you can learn and understand how retail investing works for a complete novice, right? But if that's the case, then find a platform like that. In other words, do not rely completely on your own knowledge. Start off with a book like this that gives you more ideas, because there's more out there than just what I've covered. There's way more out there. I just say that these are some of the best paths to those kind of more traditional forms of passive income, and then what we see now from the gig economy, what we see have come up from subscription models and membership models, and making digital products, courses, things of that nature. And especially if we're doing business online or we're doing business remotely, they fit right along the lines of what we're already doing. This book gives you a few more assets to really take a deep dive into, identify which one works for you, and then say, okay, now I'm going to put my money where my mind is. I'm going to make sure I'm putting money towards that. I make sure I'm putting every effort and goal, or I should put every effort and energy towards that goal. Great book. Like I said, it kind of fortified what I already knew, but then it brought on some new ideas, which have actually paid out pretty well. And hopefully can kind of, I'm not necessarily going to touch on every single one potentially, but it would be good to have your, as a diversified portfolio as possible. So the Guide to Passive Income, How Affluent Investors Build Generational Wealth, link to the book is in the description of this episode. Check it out. Like I said, even if you know a few of these already, there's a lot of ideas there, but it's also really good to see how he went about it. Maybe you can follow the same path, or you follow something similar. But like I said, just like what I say about a CPA, just like I say about a lawyer, at some point, if you have your own business, graphic designer or SEO specialist, things like that, the same thing. Get someone who knows finance. Get someone who knows the business in the world, not the business, sorry, the world of finance, because it's a lot to it. It takes time, and you want somebody who spends day in, day out working on that. That way you can focus on day in and day out of how to build out your empire and, of course, make a living from what you love doing. So with that, as I always owe you a couple episodes. I gave you different books, gave you different links to videos that could help you out with further tutorials. We're going to get right back into it, where I have built some digital assets, if you will, but these are free for you guys, right? Like I said, every episode, give you some freebies, give you takeaways, things that you can utilize. So what I've got for you guys, absolutely perfect. Like I said, number one is a link. I brought it up a couple times. A couple people have asked me about it in the past. I say, hey, if you're not that strong in financial literacy, if you're not that strong in understanding how retail investing works, it's a link to Stash. Now, Stash, this is not an affiliate link. This is a link just for you to get started. It's one of the best platforms. I feel is the best platform still to this day for first-time retail investors. And I truly have seen the benefits for myself, and at the very least for you guys to learn about it on your own. So it's a link to join and learn about Stash. I mentioned it a couple times. If you're going to create digital products, if you're going to create digital assets, best platform for that right now, can't beat it, frankly. It's blowing every one of the others out of the water. And the cool part about Canva is that you can make assets, you can make products for other platforms. So in other words, you want to make all the content for your course, why not do it in Canva? You can do everything from video. Okay, do a talking video, do a talking presentation, voiceover. They have a ton of apps and a ton of features. So Canva, free link to, get started with Canva. If you haven't started already, I don't know what you're waiting for. You could do everything from managing your entire, pretty much every creative aspect of your business, but then other aspects of your business. They've really gone to town with building out that platform. So it's a link to Stash and it's a link to Canva to get you going. Once again, that way you can see the retail side of, stocks, but more importantly, that using that form of passive income or passive revenue generation at least. And then if you want to create products, you want to create assets, tools, literally your landing page, your email marketing, your courses, everything can be done right there in Canva as well. So those links are for you in the description of this episode. Those are not affiliate links, just so you know. But you're listening to the show, that supports the show. You subscribe to the show, that really supports the show. Okay? These links are there to support you, to help you, because that's what this entire platform is for. It's for the community of us out here trying to go out there, get it. Freelancers, entrepreneurs, small business owners. Hey, listen, what's the point of collecting the knowledge? What's the point? What's the purpose of collecting all this information? What's the purpose of having this experience if I can't share it? That's pointless at that for me. So my purpose is to share as much as I have and help as many people as I can, and thank you so much for guys being a part of this and being a part of this community as it grows. Like I said, this is our second season. We're going strong, and we've got 3 interviews coming up in the next few episodes. So you guys are going to definitely want to check it out for different businesses there. But this has been the episode about passive income, specifically multiple streams of passive income. I'm giving you 2 quick links to get you started. Surprisingly, not a lot of people are using Stash. Surprisingly, there's still people who don't use Canva. Well, boom, no excuses right now. Boom, just get started. Links there in the description. And also to check out that book and to pick up that book, okay? Guide to Passive Income Investors. I tell you right now, get started as an investor. Learn from what the successful investors have done and apply what you can to yourself right now and build on that. Great book. Link to that book is in the description as well. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of The Ambitious Show. Like I said, the next few episodes, we got a couple of interviews coming up. You do not want to miss those. From literally a completely online business to taking a business from traditional brick and mortar to online. You were going to love these interviews. You're going to love the information that they're dropping. And the best part about it is, even if you're not in those fields, from speaking to these entrepreneurs and these business owners, these are things that can apply to anybody. That's the best part about it. So if you're fully an online business, you're going to be able to pull from it. If you are brick and mortar right now, you're trying to figure out how to transition to strictly online or kind of bridge that gap between your brick and mortar and an online storefront and online face for your business, you'll be able to do that as well. Look forward to checking out those episodes. Thank you guys. Don't forget to drop those comments in our YouTube feed and also wherever you grab your podcast. Podbean is the best platform for me and best platform for pretty much anybody to produce a podcast as well, if you ask me. But we should do an episode about that because people have asked for it in the past. Anywho, thank you once again for joining us for The Ambition Show. Peace.